Line number 8. Say good morning to the independent member of the House. St. John South Mount Pearl? No, Mount Pearl Southlands. Mount Pearl Southlands, I'm pretty sure. Paul Lane. Good morning, Paul. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How are you this morning?
Not bad, you?
I'm best kind, boy. Best kind.
Good.
Paddy, before I get to my subject, I did just want to take this opportunity to, I guess, publicly congratulate my friend Steve Kent on his new appointment, or not an appointment, but his new, because he wasn't appointed, but his new career opportunity. With the city of Mount Pearl. There was actually over 170 people applied, as I understand it. But anyway, he has taken on a new role with the city of Mount Pearl, and he's certainly qualified for the job. I have no hesitation in saying that, and I know he has a passion for our city. So I just wish him all the best. He's had a very successful political career, whether we necessarily agreed with his position on every matter or not. Nobody, I think, gets into politics with the illusion that people are going to agree with everything, or that everyone is going to love you like your mother does. That's just not the way it works. But he has had a successful career, and now he's moving on to something new. And at the end of the day, he'll still be working for the people of Mount Pearl, the community which I love as well. And I wish him nothing but the best, and I look forward to working with him in that capacity.
Fair enough, and we wish Mr. Kent well, as he's had an interesting political career, and we'll leave it at that for now so we can get to an issue of the day that you'd like to discuss.
Absolutely. Anyway, Paddy, I guess there's been an issue raised recently. I know you've spoken to the Churchill family of up in Portugal Cove, St. Philip's, and I believe they've spoken to Jonathan on Nightline as well on the issue of their son Carter and the what I would view as the unacceptable situation that he was placed in this year at the very beginning of the school year. Very unfortunate, and I really don't think it should have happened. They should have been more prepared and done the planning and so on. The school board should have, to make sure that Carter's needs was addressed. But I guess the bigger issue is, how we treat all of our students. If we're going to have an inclusive education system, then we need to make sure that we have all the appropriate resources and supports in place to do so. And that was one of the concerns I raised. I know even in Budget 2016, when we were talking about the introduction of full-day kindergarten, I said many times then that while I do support the concept of full-day kindergarten, I didn't support it if at the same time we were not going to ensure that we were properly resourcing the students that we currently have and having the proper programs in place. And so this issue of students who are deaf and hard of hearing, this is something that came to my attention, I guess, around the middle of August. I met with a young lady who was a former student of the School for the Deaf, who had made a presentation to the Premier's task force on educational outcomes. And she was very concerned and disappointed at the time when she met with me, because she felt that the concerns that she had presented on behalf of students who are deaf and hard of hearing fell on deaf ears, so to speak. And pardon, Paul, I didn't mean to throw in that pun.
No, that's
anyway,
all. Everyone
you know what I mean. It didn't get addressed, and it was not addressed in the report at all. And so, like I said, after meeting with her, I did write a letter on I think it was the 15th of August, to Minister Kirby about that issue, that it hadn't been addressed. And I had recommended to him at the time that he either go back to the people who are on the task force and ask them just to do a specific review of the needs of students who are deaf and hard of hearing in our province, and ask them to address that, or if not, have someone else look into it. But at the end of the day, that this issue needed to be reviewed. Unfortunately, I didn't receive a response from the minister, so very disappointed when I heard the Churchills calling in about what happened to their son. So since then, I've been in contact with the Churchills. I've written to Minister Kirby once again, and I've also written the Premier on it, and I certainly hope that the government will take a look at this issue, because, we did have a school for the deaf here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and we had it for a reason. And if we're not going to provide that specific school, then at the very least, if we're going to include children, whether it be deaf and hard of hearing students, or whether it be any students for that matter, who have any kind of a disability and so on, then we need to make sure that we have the proper resources in place to deal with it.
Well, of course. The inclusive model as it stands today is simply not working. And when it doesn't work for one group of students, that means by definition it won't work for anybody. Because if you have I always try to put this the right way. If classrooms become a big collection of student assistants, IRTs, the ratio of teachers to students is out of whack for many schools, many classrooms already. When we have a confusing atmosphere and environment and people are not getting what they need, and that includes people with additional special requirements of services or support, it also includes those with exceptionalities, which we don't identify near enough. We're just not doing very well in the education world at this point in time. It has to be fixed from every level, and we all know it. The task force is a good start, but we can't have a school year where things continue to slide backwards or sideways. So we'll see about the action plan they come forward with. And Kirby says we'll have a variety of dates and milestones that need to be hit, and we'll hold their feet to the fire. But I do appreciate you chiming in on it. I'm off to the break, Paul, but thanks for the call.
Okay, Paddy, and it's always a pleasure. But let me just say this, that when Minister Kirby, when you spoke to Minister Kirby, he talked about the report that's come out and the recommendations. The salient point that needs to be made is that in those recommendations, they're not dealing with the specific issue of the deaf and hard of hearing students in the province. So he can talk about the report all he wants and what they're going to do in the future, but if that's not included in those recommendations, it's doing nothing for that group of children, and that needs to be included.
Well,
that's the point I wanted to make.
And that point has been made readily. It's been made very clear to the minister in the recent past here. I appreciate your time, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Paddy.
You're
Have
welcome.
a good day.
You
Always
too.
a pleasure.
Bye-bye.